This is Patrick Jones. I'm a regenerative ranching advisor for the Noble Research Institute. I'd like to welcome everybody to an overview of the Noble Profitability Essentials course. It's a 2-day course developed in partnership with ranch management consultants that integrates content from the ranching from profit. Before we get into the MPE course, let's look at the little history on the Noble Research Institute. The Noble Research Institute is the nation's largest independent agriculture research organization, supporting ranchers and farmers with research, education, and mentorship for regenerating soil health to improve their land, livestock, and livelihood. Since 1945, the Noble Research Institute has been a leading, trusted resource in agriculture research and education dedicated to land stewardship. The Noble Research Institute's mission is to guide farmers and ranchers in applying regenerative principles that yield healthier soil, more productive grazing land, and business success. For the people that's listening to this, I'd like everyone to think of one thing that is keeping their ranch or their farm from being profitable. Once you have thought of that one thing, I want you to think if that's something that's in your control or if it's something that's outside of your control. Oftentimes in ranching, we get fixated on what we call areas of concern, things like weather, shifting markets, labor, and commodity prices. These areas of concern do have an impact on our operations, but they are not the primary things controlling whether or not we are profitable. We have to focus on things that are within our control, like what enterprises we have, when to buy and sell, our debt structure. Making more money depends on things that's within our control, and those are the things that we'll focus on at the Noble Profitability Essentials. I'd like you to meet the Bauer family. They will guide us through our journey into regenerative ranching. They own the Break Even Ranch in central Oklahoma. The Break Even Ranch is probably like many other ranches, or at least your neighbor's ranch. They are very traditional in their approach to ranching. They have 3 enterprises: cow-calf, replacement heifers, and a hay enterprise. These are the same enterprises that this family has done for generations. Throughout the course, they realized their heifers were losing them money. In the course, they learned how to evaluate their profitability not only as a whole ranch, but in every single enterprise on the ranch. For example, they discovered that they could make more money selling heifers and brine bred cows than they could retaining all their heifers. Like the Bauer family, you'll gain practical insight into effective ranch management and profitability practices that you can apply to your own operation. I want you to take a look at the cow-calf gross margin from the year 1 Bauer family. As you can see, we calculate gross margin by taking gross product minus your direct costs. Gross product is similar to gross revenue, but we do calculate it different. We take opportunity interest on the beginning inventory, their feed costs, their vet meds, freight and marketing, and hay, and add those together to get your total direct costs. We'll subtract your gross product from your total direct costs, which gives you $11,697 and a gross margin per acre of $12. As you can see, that's not a good gross margin. They're spending a little over $700 per head in direct cost, and they still need to consider their overhead costs. Keep in mind that we don't want to make all of our business decisions based on gross margins, but we do want to know an accurate gross margin for each enterprise. And we also want to keep in mind that we're only creating budgets throughout this course. This is the journey that they went on as they walked through the course to learn how to make better business decisions. We start with shifting mindsets for success. In this stop on the journey, we'll talk about paradigms, and create a mission statement. Then we move into an introduction to profit analysis. Profit analysis includes your ranch hierarchy, your trading accounts, a gross margin worksheet, your overhead worksheets, and your P&L. In the introduction to profit analysis, we'll only start with the ranch hierarchy, trading accounts, livestock valuation, and gross margin worksheets. We'll move to the next step, which is enterprise analysis. And this stop on the journey is where we'll learn how to allocate our overhead expenses to divisions or whole ranch. Step number 4 is the completion of the profit and loss budget. We'll take everything that we learned in steps 2 and 3 and put them together into step 4 to complete the P&L. Step number 5, deadwood. And how do we use the ratios? In this step, we'll identify the deadwood and things that are costing them money and use that to see if we can make them more profitable. In step 6, we'll complete the cash flow budget. We'll use the cash flow budget and the P&L budget to make business decisions. And the last step on the journey is the journey review. We'll do a complete review of the Bauer family and introduce their new year 2 budget to see the steps that they took to make themselves more profitable. Paradigms. The Bauer family also had to change their paradigms in order to shift their enterprises to plan for profitability. The first thing the Bauer family did was define and identify their paradigms that might need to change. Next, as if these long-held assumptions are in the way of your ranch being more profitable and are doing these things because that is what Dad and Grandpa did, causing their ranch to be less profitable. We use paradigms to ask people to have a paradigm shift. We see a lot of times that they get stuck doing just what their dad or their grandpa did for generations. And over time, it seems to cost them more money, or we can find better ways to be more profitable. The first step in their journey to being profitable is planning for a profit. We start with the end in mind, determine how much profit you want each enterprise and subsequently the ranch to make annual profit. When you're planning for a profit, we want to make sure that you're being reasonable with what you're asking for your profit, include payments for yourself and your family, and be conservative on income and liberal on your expenses. Most people work from the beginning to the end, recording all expenses and income and subtracting the expenses from the income to determine what is left over. This becomes their profit and loss for the ranch for the year. There are a lot of surprises baked into this approach. Instead, we set a realistic profit goal for an enterprise and then work backwards from there to determine how we'll achieve that profit. We take into account all sources of expenses, direct and overhead costs. Being conservative and liberal on your expenses gives you the opportunity to be more profitable. Nobody ever gets upset if profitability turns out to be better than expected. So this is how we set up our ranch hierarchy. The bottom level is enterprises. The next level is divisions. The top is the whole ranch of the business. At the enterprise level is where we'll allocate our revenue and some direct cost. The division in the whole ranch business only deals in overhead costs. Examples of enterprises would be cow-calf, stockers, pecans. Divisions could be crops, livestock, and then everything rolls up into the whole ranch. This is just a description of our enterprises as we break them down. An enterprise is your economic engine. It's the very basic level. It has a defined product and a unique profit center. There can be all kinds of different enterprises. We've listed on here just a few of them: stockers, retained heifers, wheat, pecans, and ecotourism. After we complete the ranch hierarchy and we define the enterprises, divisions, and overheads, we take a look at the 3 secrets of profitability. The first secret is to reduce overheads. Next is improve gross margin. And the last one is to increase turnover. When we look at the 3 secrets of profitability, we only want to focus on one secret at a time. Most of the time, to increase your profitability, we'll either need to reduce our overhead costs or reduce our direct costs. So to improve your gross margin, the most common way to do that is to decrease your direct costs. Increase turnover. That tells us that we can expand on our enterprises. We use our gross margins to tell us if we can increase turnover. If we have a positive and a good gross margin, that's the enterprise that we want to increase our turnover on and start expanding. When we increase turnover, we want to make sure that we're not increasing our overheads to increase turnover. So an example is if our enterprise is haired sheep, and that's the one that we want to increase turnover on. All right, we have a good gross margin. Our ratio shows us that it's good, and we want to increase. We don't want to go out and buy a bunch of land to increase. That means we can increase the number of haired sheep only on the property that we already own if we have the available forage. Deadwood. So when we're using our 3 secrets of profitability, we use what we call deadwood and deadwood ratios to determine which one of the secrets we need to use. Deadwood are things that cause producers to be less efficient or lose money. Sometimes cutting the deadwood means letting go of things that we don't even realize are holding us back. Deadwood ratios can be used to identify which one of the 3 secrets need to be used to create more profit. The ratios that we use is overhead ratio and gross margin ratio. The overhead ratio tells us if our overhead costs are too high, and the gross margin ratio tells us if we need to cut direct cost or increase gross product. So after we go all the way through the year 1 review of the buyer family, we start looking at the year 2. This is a look at their year 2 gross margin worksheet. As you can see, their gross product has went up a little bit. That was just due to selling some cows. Their opportunity interest was pretty similar at $30,825. Since we culled back some of the cows, we were able to cut back on our feed, hay, and mineral costs by 20%. It's now only $30,400. We had a vet med of $2,500. Gives us a total direct cost of $63,725. So we take our gross product of $120,444 minus our total direct cost of $63,725, gives us a gross margin of $56,719. For 140 head of cows, I think that's a pretty good gross margin. We had a gross margin per acre of $35. We were able to increase the number of acres that the cows ran on by 600, and we also increased what they made per acre to $35. I just want everybody to keep in mind that these are only budgets, and we budget within. These are only numbers that come from within the budgeting period. In the NPE course, we have designed the activities so that learners get a chance to interact with other learners and get a hands-on experience. Here's a short video showing how our cash flow activities is. So why should you care about coming to the Noble Profitability course? We can help you project the ranch's likely financial performance early in the process, help with financial planning and preparation. You can use these budgets to get financing. You'll have the opportunity to understand what you want from your ranch business, and you can transform challenges into growth opportunities. So that is the wrap on the overview of the Noble Profitability Essentials course. I want to let everybody know that you can visit our website at noble.org, and you can see when all of our upcoming courses are for the 2025. Noble Profitability Essentials will be in McKinney, Texas in late January, and we're going to Jefferson, Missouri in mid-February. Thank you.